All right, so we've been looking at how to gathering sources and information so we can write historical narrative. Now we've looked at the Stanthorpe letter in previous lessons, and that's been refreshed for you. And so we're going to be writing our own historical narrative today. So we're going to be practicing doing that. So if we have a look at this letter here, is from what you've got to be gathering information. So it says, "To my dear friend, it has been 7 years since you left to start a new life in Adelaide. I have not heard from you since you arrived. I hope all is well for you. I am most curious to know what it has been like to live and work in the Adelaide settlement over the last 7 years. What do you do each day? How has your life changed since moving there? Does it look much the same as it did when you first arrived? Do write to me and tell me about your experiences in the Adelaide settlement. I most eagerly await your reply. From your friend, Tobias." Alright, so that's the letter. Obviously, from Tobias is wanting to find out what your new life in Adelaide is like. So if we have a look at some sources, here, that is going to help us decide what Adelaide is like. So we're going to have a look at these sources in here. Sorry. There we go. So if we have a look at source 1, we've got a settler's hut. So just having a look in there and what you see. So we can see that it's got some walls and it looks like it's one big room there, doesn't it? We've got a curtained off area there. And we've got, I'm assuming, a family living in there. And just lined up all their equipment that they need. Barrels. There's a dog in there. Is that a cat? I don't know. Can't tell exactly. But a settler's hut in 1845. So this source is called the Settler's Hut. So it can be found from the Library of South Australia. Now we'll go have a look at source 2. This is an extract about pioneer settlers in Adelaide, South Australia. So the extract from, if we look down at the source, the History of South Australia, Volume 1. That seems pretty reliable. It says the dwellings were frail, tents, huts constructed of reeds, bark and branches of trees. Boxes and trunks served for tables and chairs. All wood had to be carried. Cooking operations were carried on in the open air. There was work for everybody to do in providing the necessaries of life: baking, cooking, hunting and fishing. Everyone told of exploits in killing kangaroos, emus, possums, snakes, lizards, wild dogs, or other animals and reptiles. So lots of work for people to do. And source 3 comes from the diary of Mrs. Robert Thomas in 1836. The evening, as well as the day and the preceding one, was very hot, and the night continued so, insomuch that it was impossible to sleep, the thermometer having been sometimes upwards of 100 degrees, and that was Fahrenheit, in the tent. And it seemed that some of the colonists did not even go to bed, for we heard singing and shouting from different parties at intervals till long after daylight. Alright, so that person obviously lived in a tent. So somebody who doesn't have a house as such. Alright, source 4. It's an extract from the diary of Mary Thomas. So the 27th of December, 1839. That's an interesting name for a cottage. So Traganwen Cottage is nearly finished and is to be our future residence. Frances, Helen and I slept there this night for the first time. The workmen were papering one of the parlours all night. 17th of February, 1840s. The digging of our well began today. 17th of March, 1840. The Adelaide Chronicle came out today for the first time since it had been in our hands. Mama has just commenced employing a German washerwoman. 21st of July, 1840. A very cold day indeed, with a fall of snow, which is a novelty in Australia. Alright, so those two are diary entries there, and we can already see a difference in their experiences. Some talking about the tents, and this person is talking about wallpapering the parlours. Pretty sure that might have to be a rich person, because I don't think a settler, if we have a look at this hut here, I don't think they had a parlour, just one room. Alright, now let's have a look at source 5. So there's a farm there. We can see the farmhouse there, and so then we've got the farm with the fields have been ploughed, and we've got fences with things planted, etc., etc. Looks very nice. Alright. And this last one, a German settler village. So we can see here it's very different to the previous dwelling as well, that we've got all these huts very close together. We've got big barrels that I'm assuming they're wells. These people here are cooking over a fire, open fire. So that's very different. All right. So for your writing task, there are two options. So you can choose either a wealthy settler, like a landowner, or a less wealthy settler, so like a labourer. So there's two different options. Now this is in your OneDrive as well, but this information matches each settler option in the notes. So these notes have already been taken for you. So you're going to be writing from the notes what your life was like. So first of all, you have to choose what you want. Which one? Settler 1, the wealthy, or settler 2, the not so wealthy. So we can see that the climate, obviously that's going to be the same for both, because no matter if you're rich or poor, you experience the same climate. Settler option 1, we've got all of these options here. That's what their house is, and that you can see from the sources. And settler option 2, and that's from those sources as well. And then you have to eat. What food do you eat? Because remembering, if we look at the letter, oops, not that one, the letter, it's asking you to say, what do you do each day? How has your life changed since moving? Does it look much the same as it did when you first arrived? So you're needing to make sure that you've got, you're answering those questions. So what work do you do? So you have to decide what you would like to do. So just choose things from the sources. Don't go making up something that you don't have the information from. So you could choose one of those answers there. And how is your settler's life different or the same from when you first arrived? For example, at first, how did you live? What was the life like there? And then you can go for now. So what was your life like now? So how has it changed?